Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to fly over and deliver some packages to some people. So I'm just going to talk briefly about this track and what we're doing here. FA-18C loaded with 4 GBU-31s. And we've got an ATFLIR on it. Not that I really need it because I'm using a planned mode on these. I'm not using target of opportunity. And we've got one 120C, a couple of AIM-9Xs. There are some bandits in the area. Actually, later on, for some reason, they shoot down the AWACS, and I have no idea why, but I must have messed up something with the mission editor inadvertently, because the two Raptors that I had that were supposed to be patrolling, they just go and land on land somewhere and let the AWACS get shoot down. The bogies will also go and harass the UH-60 helicopter you see up there on the right there by the Vicarious USS Truman. Here I am messing around with the Kneeboard on my HOTAS that I have set up, just trying to figure out where is the page I want. That's the page I want. Those are the targets up there at the top. So here I'm going to go ahead and program in all those coordinates into each of those 4 bombs. Those are 2,000 pounders, GPS guided. One of the guided missile cruiser here. I have 2 of them in my carrier battle group. And then I have 3 Arleigh Burke classed frigates and 2 attack submarines as well. So, in fact, there's one right now, cruising along at periscope depth. Yeah. So, pretty robust carrier battle group. Not that it's really doing anything other than just looking kind of cool and giving me a place to land later on. Yes, you can punch those coordinates into Google Maps and a variety of other things and find out exactly where I am and look at those objects in Google Maps. Although I pulled those actually from the mission editor just to make sure everything lined up correctly. This is a livery that I made. It was a little easier than it looks actually. Making the plane white was actually very easy. And then it was just playing around, trial and error, until I got all the insignia and everything and text in the correct spots, so they didn't overlap anything weird or anything like that. Alright, so programming these things takes a little bit of time. Normally you would probably do this on the deck of a carrier or on the airfield before you get into flight, but since I started this mission in flight, I have to do it all on the fly. And because it's been a long time since I've used a planned mission mode on my JDAMs, I forgot you're supposed to enter in the compass direction first before you enter in the coordinates as opposed to afterwards. But I figure it out in the end. So here's what we're going for. The problem here is that there's this place in the middle of Jerusalem, you'll recognize it, where somehow they've managed to smuggle in some anti-aircraft artillery, 3 units. I don't know, maybe they brought them in piece by piece. Certainly could do that. You could dismantle things like that, bring them in through tunnels or whatever, and just put them together there. And who knows what's going on in there, right? Who knows what else they've got going on in there. So we're going to go ahead and remove all of those problems pretty much once and for all after I finish programming this thing in here. I'm going for a rather steep angle of 80 degrees. I've set a delayed fuse to the bombs here so they can get down there, penetrate, and just do a fantastic job. I passed over the shoreline there into Israel. Head straight towards Old Town Jerusalem. Just take a couple glamour shots here of the aircraft as I continue to work on programming each one of these in there. I probably should have shut off the lights by this point, but I do later. In the meantime, there, I figured it out. Okay, now we can punch all that stuff in. That's just a PNG file that I made in Photoshop. I just type in all the stuff I need and add it to the Kneeboard list of images. So I can call it up and program things in, including GPS points or waypoints that can put it into the waypoint for nav or whatever. And then I came to realize, you know, I'm actually only about 22 miles out. You can see that I've got the waypoint there anyway. And I'm probably going to need a little bit more time to program these things and make my approach. Because I'm going to drop these pretty much right after I enter into the zone. I never do it right as I enter into the zone, but I'll wait several seconds and drop them just to make sure they reach their target. Coordinates, elevation, 80-degree drop on these things so they go down almost straight. Some other things you can kind of see, all those targets that you see on the right there. I removed from this mission just so I didn't have too much extra stuff that wasn't going to be part of this. Try to make a fairly smooth video. Get a nice little flyby here. Whoosh. So I just do kind of a wide orbit in the area, and then once I come back onto target, I should be ready to go and ready to bomb. Beautiful scenery down below. You can see the shadows of the buildings. A lot of detail. The water looks great. The sun coming off the water looks great. The clouds look great. Everything looks great. In VR as well. So there are bandits. They're flying Mirage 2000s. They've got those are Fox 2s. They've got, that's the AWACS, who is now unprotected. And there's the Raptors. These are not controlled by any players, by the way. I'm the only one in here. And they're heading, for some reason, they're returning to base. So I think what I ended up doing was I must have accidentally selected them when I was making some changes elsewhere and told the wrong unit to go return to the base at the start of the mission. So that kind of sucks. On the other hand, if they didn't, they would have shot down those 2000s easily, and then I wouldn't have my little air-to-air combat that we're going to see later on. So what are we doing here? I don't even know what station I'm on. So I'm doing this with the Oculus Meta 3, is actually what I fly in. So some of this video, like this one here, is from the replay track, just so I can get some shots of some of the other things to kind of break things up. That's also the replay track, just smoother than looking at it in VR, because you know, you move your head around, you can kind of tell when I'm in VR, because not only am I in the cockpit, but the movements are very rather jerky, because you know, you're just looking around like you do in real life, because it's pretty much like real life. It's in VR. Settings are cranked up pretty good. Yeah, the ground looks fantastic. And then the playback track, of course, you know, everything's cranked up in that as well, so we can get some nice looks there. Over Israel, it's funny, I can recognize an area. Coming up in the lower left of the screen there's an area where there's a number of hotels. You can kind of see those beaches. They're like little mini coves, if you will. I stayed in a hotel down there some years back. I've been down there, and pretty nice. Mediterranean Sea is actually kind of nice. Stuff south of there, not so nice, but we're not focusing on that today. We're going to focus on the bigger problem. As I come around here, I will go ahead and level out and head back towards the target. 2000s are cruising along here. I set the carrier battle group not to engage anything, otherwise it would have shot these things down a long time ago. AWACS is freaking out. Just probably adjusting my range here so I can watch my LAR as I approach. Switching to air-to-ground mode, and then I'm going to take the FLIR and turn that on. There's the AWACS giving me a report, which will cease in a short period of time after he gets shot down. And the map's just got so much stuff on it, I just decided to turn off the map. So that little circle is the LAR, so once I reach there, I can go ahead and release my packages. And then to make sure that the camera's looking directly at what I want, I'm going to go ahead and designate the waypoint as the target, and then use the zoom on the OTAS to technically on the throttle itself to zoom into the target there. Yes, that is the Dome of the Rock. That is the AWACS Mosque. Big, shiny gold dome. Can't miss it. Especially when you're using GPUs. So we're going to go ahead and make our approach. That's the point where I probably should have shut the lights off, but I'm over friendly territory, right? And I'm so far above what those air artillery can shoot at that I really have no concern. The bandits are otherwise occupied. They're pretty far away, so I'm not too concerned about them. Yeah, making some slight adjustments here, I can tell. Just make sure I'm going. I don't have to go directly at the target. I can be off a little bit. The bombs will do their thing, but it's always good practice to try and have a nice straight approach to what you're going to bomb. Any moment here, we're going to see those bombs just fall away. There they go. What was interesting this time is, I don't think I've ever seen this before, is this one here just went faster than the others. I wonder if I might have actually adjusted its velocity by mistake. I wanted them all to fall at 700, but I might have goofed up and hit that one. So this is me just making sure that I've got that target in a nice view. As we watch the bombs fly, gliding very nicely to the target. Look how straight they're going. Now they'll start to kind of curve. And that's what JDAMs do. The extra fins that they bolt on to a standard iron bomb will guide them to that target and cause them to get into that terminal angle, etc. at the right time. Detail is stunning. Unfortunately, I didn't have the big explosion I wanted to because I messed up the triggers in some way. But obviously, we brought that thing down and that thing over there. These actually explode. So, mission accomplished. Everything's toast. Threats are completely eliminated. And it doesn't look like I did any collateral damage to any of the buildings around it, so win-win. Alright. While I'm turning back towards the sea and getting ready to engage the bandits, we'll actually watch the TacView of the bombs falling there. You can see where that one really takes off way ahead of the others. So I must have accidentally set a faster velocity for that one because it is just humming along. Not that it really matters, because they're all going to strike the targets as designated. So that's 8,000 pounds of ordnance coming down. And this is in real time here. I didn't adjust the speed on this one. Zoom in a little bit there. And that obliterates the building. So I would have smashed through the roof, down into the floor a bit and blown up. And then the other three follow up. I like it better when they hit like pop, 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 but that's okay. So the other buildings were destroyed, and then I hit a couple other areas in proximity to the central building itself to make sure that I splashed all the AAA, as well as anybody else who was around there because they were armed. There's a cut of the Raptors landing now, fully armed. Yeah. I didn't like that AWACS plane anyway for some reason. And at the time, I didn't realize that Huey was like cruising way away from the carrier. Obviously, I'm like miles and miles and miles away, but they were being harassed by one of these Mirages here. Decided it wanted to try and shoot it down. In fact, you can tell it's already fired 2 missiles at it. This was the one that shot down the AWACS. Dropping his tank, so he must have depleted all the fuel in that, wasted money there if you just drop them like that. Because I'm not even close enough to be a threat to those folks yet, but I will be. Don't worry, the helicopter does survive, in spite of the fact that the other bandit launched all of his missiles at him. They all missed. Not as easy to shoot those down as you might think. The heat signature's not like it is on a jet. Better off just gunning them down and using something that's radar guided instead. I've switched to air mode here. And I'm looking around for my targets. Okay, we found something there. So I've locked that up. Just can't really see what the hell's going on in the HUD because it's so bright going into the sun. So we'll turn on to my HMD. That's a helmet mounted device. This is the thing that just changes everything. Without this, not nearly as effective as one might be. That's my electronic warfare on the left there. So I'm also looking for them using their radar. And I've also have the 120 is armed and ready to go. I only have the one because the other position is taken up by the ATFLIR, which I didn't really need. I probably should have stuck 2 AMRAMs, but that was okay. So, really cool little flyby. Whoosh. Got the afterburner on. He's got the afterburner on as he cruises around trying to shoot down our helicopter there. Carrier battle group's just like, yeah, whatever. Let's see what happens. Maybe they don't like the helicopter guy very much. Fly by. Some of the audio got a little mixed in the way that I did this in DaVinci. So sometimes you'll hear the sonic boom, sometimes you won't. So I can just shut off the afterburner. I'm maintaining full power though. Oddly enough, I still haven't shut off the lights yet. In fact, I don't think I shut them off until I splashed the first one. You know what, let's get below this cloud layer here because you can see what's going on. And that will also help shield me from some of that oncoming sunlight. Beautiful clouds. I even have the lens flare on there too. It even has a watermark. Impressive, very nice. Let's see me blow something up. So we already have it locked up. Flying directly at the bandit. Yeah, airspeed of 550. So I'm going just above Mach at this altitude here at 1.06. Closing rapidly because he's coming towards me as well, so that distance is, I mean, we were just at like 60 miles, nautical miles away from each other, and now we're already at 50. I tested my, just to make sure the chaff was working. Flip up my mirrors. That's all on the HOTAS module. Most of the things are on the HOTAS module. A bunch of other stuff I've got on a another input device I have strapped to my left leg like a kneeboard. And the mouse is actually controlled by a thumb trackball that I have strapped to my other right thigh like a kneeboard. Not my idea, by the way. I saw another person doing it. I actually pinged them and somebody used. Just Velcro. Stick Velcro on the bottom and have some Velcro tight end straps around your leg. Works freaking great. Closing in. I'm like waiting for the shoot indicator to go off here. I normally don't. I should just basically go off the range. It never came on. The only reason why I think is because this wasn't being designated as an enemy target, which is weird because it's red in the mission editor. So it's not officially a bandit according to the mission for some reason, but that's okay. I don't need it to be. In a moment here, I'm just like, screw it, I'm just going to shoot this thing before I get too close. I'm going to cut away out to the outside of the craft, and in a minute we're going to see that thing leave the rail. Whoosh. Note, it's got a very short burn time here as it orients and continues turning to meet our friend. No parachute. This guy got killed. So shrapnel, all that stuff, entered into the cockpit, killed him. He's toast. Nice little flyby as you see the other guy going down in flames. And look, there he is. And that's it. He's gone. So this is good. I've still got 2 Fox 3s and 1 One aircraft left to take. Now, at this point, I have no idea if this guy's still armed. I don't know if he's just got his gun. I don't know if he has all 4 of his missiles. You know, I'm going to assume that he's fully loaded, ready to go. Oh yeah, this is the TacView of me launching the 120C. Watching me such freaking out. Yeah, not flares, buddy. That's not flares. I mean, this should be bleeps and boops going off in your cockpit. Now he starts dropping chaff, but it's just too late. It's like the missile doesn't even see those things. Look at how it turns at the last moment. Kaboomy. All right, we're gonna come back to me flying. It was really tough trying to find this guy. I ended up using the outside view on the other craft to figure out where the hell is he, because I couldn't see him for some reason. I don't have the markers turned on. So sometimes I think about turning them back on, but then I figure, yeah, it's just like putting training wheels back on your bike. Just learn how to find it. That's why I was cycling through there. So I no longer have any more Fox 2s. And I don't fly Fox 1s. Why would I? So all I have are the 2 Sidewinders and, of course, my guns. Gun. I have 1 gun. And I have to assume that he's fully armed. And I won't get any warnings if he launches his Fox 3s, so you have to keep your eyes peeled. This dude just hangs around the carrier battle group. He had expended all of his missiles by this point, or he might have had 1 remaining. But he hadn't been able to shoot that helicopter down yet. He's going to keep trying until I show up. Now, the helmet-mounted device, the HMD, is critical in being able to win this dogfight. And I get very close to him. I mean, we get very close to each other. And for a moment, I thought I might have to switch to gun mode, but you'll see what happens. Okay, well, I know roughly where he's at, so he's over here somewhere. And he just really blended in very nicely with the sea. That was part of the problem. It's just hard to see. He's small, and he's fast. Fly by, to go by the CBG looking for this guy. Is he? He's down there somewhere. I can't even see the helicopter. And there's a light gray. He should at least be somewhat visible against that blue water. That's okay. Mirage was also not really showing up much on the radar. And probably around this point, I kind of gave up looking at the radar, and so I've got my Sidewinders here selected now. And I decided to flip up the tide down, and that's when I saw these flares. Thought, aha, he's close. Ah, there he is. So now we go ahead and try to get around, not even necessarily behind them. These are Sidewinders, and you're going to find out why they're named that after I fire this thing off. You'll notice I'm really cranking my head outside the cockpit. There's some more flares. We would have been better off not using them because I wouldn't have been able to see them. And you will barely make him out as this little speck. Oh yeah, that's right after I shot him. So we didn't even see the missile leave the rail. But he's toast. No parachute on that one either. So here's what the TacView looks like. That's me approaching in. And notice that the Sidewinder, it just cuts a sharp 90-degree turn right after it leaves the rail. So using the HMD in that little circle, picking up his heat signature, which you can hear from the tone, and it just goes off and does its thing. Zoom in here, dropping those flares again. I always wait till they drop the flares like twice before I think about actually firing. And because I didn't know what he had, I did drop some flares as well, because I couldn't tell exactly where he was until I picked him up again. I'm real close to this guy. All of a sudden, whop! Look at that. It just makes a quick turn and poof. He couldn't see it. He was... He was actually, the bottom of his aircraft was facing me when that thing fired off. And in the entire time it flew over, which was just seconds, he never saw it coming. That's how scary those things are. You don't know you got locked out of your heat. You don't know when it's been fired. If you don't see it, you're basically going to be toast. So, he's toast, obviously. We're going to go ahead and approach carrier, get back home. At this point, I'm just going around making some changes to my MFDs. Get ready for landing. For some reason, the hook switch wasn't working on my HOTAS. It started working later, so flip it down with the mouse instead. And reduce that last warning from 500 feet to 0, so there's driving insane. It's a major distraction. Sure, check all of my settings here. So, yeah, good. Turn on my landing lights. Start our first of 2 turns. Okay, it looks like I'm already sitting at, I'm still at too high, yeah. So I've already got the ATC, that's the, basically it's cruise control on a car. I need to reduce my altitude down to about 800. And while I'm working on all of that, we're actually going to watch the TacView of me doing the second and final turn where I would have done all those things. Would have hit the flaps to full, make a tight turn, start the landing gear coming down. I will actually use the forward and back pitch on the stick to kind of initially get things where I want before I start messing with the trim, in which case I don't do that anymore. We decided playing with the speed here. I was X5, now I'm X3. I'll go down to X1 as we close in on the carrier. I made a pretty good landing actually. It was lined up well. I got an okay rating on wire number 3, no less. So this is probably one of my best landings to date. After 76 plus hours, because I used to have another account. Pretty happy about that. You can see from the angle, I'm just probably almost perfect to the correct landing angle. It won't look like that when we're in the cockpit on the approach. It looks like I'm kind of lined up straight with the BRC of the vessel itself, but no, I made some last minute adjustments. Make sure I landed correctly. Didn't plow into any other fighters sitting on the deck, or people. Yeah, so I'm down to 800. You can see me flying up there. But Ticonderoga. Shot of the carrier. Just checking it. Distance looks good. I actually, in the mission editor, space the various ships around such that I can use it as navigational aids for all of this. So when I do my first go around, it's not really a go around, but I will. I tend to stick a bit to the right of that ship that we just passed over, and I know that I'll be good when I make my turn. Technically speaking, there's 4 turns, right? The first turn I just made, I'm going to make the second. The third will be when I come around and get the landing gear down, and the fourth will be approach the carrier itself to land. The tail hook's already down. We talked about that. Here's where I'm going to go ahead and make a good turn to come around. Fly next to the carrier, check the deck, make sure there's no obstructions. Checking all of my settings. I've got the FCS on the right, as well as the HSI on the left. I've got the BRC plugged in there. So a combination of visual and also checking instruments. Double checking all this stuff, triple checking even. Ways out, we'll be coming there pretty fast. I use, you might have caught it, but I use the barometric altitude hold set at about 800. It's hard to get it precise. It's okay. As well as the ATC set to about 350. Again, doesn't have to be super precise. For me, anywhere between 347 and 353, I'm happy with it as I level out here. And that way, all I'm really doing right now at this point is just, I don't have to worry about adjusting my altitude. So I'm just doing roll movements on the stick to get myself where I want to go, and I don't really have to think too hard about the altitude and the speed. Yeah, 355, 770, that's good enough. So, one of the subs. Yeah, so as long as I'm fairly close to that ship you see on the right, that's one of the Berks, I'm pretty happy with the distance there. I don't really want to be right over it, but kind of right here is like a good spot. I like that spot. Sweet spot. You can see me flying up there. Here's where I'm going to check the deck and carrier. These white planes really stand out nice. And then in a moment we're going to make our third turn. And this is where, first thing I do is I turn off the ATC, I turn off all the autopilot, and I let the speed reduce slightly before I start making the turn. And I'm still struggling with this part a bit, but just trying to use the G's to reduce that speed. I've lowered the flaps. Come on, flaps, lower. I know I've hit the switch by now. It's right about halfway is when I do the turn, is when I gather on it. In a moment, we're going to go ahead and lower the landing gear. I probably already just did. Yeah, I can tell. I just did. Yeah, the flaps are definitely lowered now. And I'll make some slight adjustments with the pitch using the stick until I kind of have it set nice, and then I'll start using the trim to adjust the pitch, and I won't touch the stick for forward or backward movements anymore at this point. Try to get myself the correct glide slope, using the throttle to adjust for my altitude. Up a little high, but that's not a problem. We're going to lose a lot of that as I make my final turn now. Things look good. Adjust. We all are enjoying our 70s style supermarket music. Better than the trash they play in the supermarket these days. You can actually see the elevators move slightly there as I adjust the trim. Throttle. Should be throttling up. On the other hand, I know I'm going to level out, and then the thrust is going to pull me up, lift me up again. And we're lined up. Doesn't exactly look like it from the cockpit, but you can definitely tell from this angle that I am not flying like straight along the 20-degree course that the carrier is on as well. I'm a little lower than I would really like to be here. Maybe just a little bit higher. But I have a feeling this is probably where I need to be at, because the landing was probably one of the smoothest ones I've ever made. You can see the landing light on the front landing gear is reflecting off the surface of the ocean. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I lined up a little bit on the left, but we hit that third cable wire. Got an okay grade. I'm pretty happy with that. I've only had those like 4 or 5 times. It's really hard doing this. Director is directing me somewhere, but I'm just going to ignore him and park this thing on one of the elevators just forward of the island there, leaving the flaps on full, using that high-speed nose wheel steering. I can make those nice tight turns. At some point, probably about now, I'm flipping up the wings, holding the wings, I should say. up there. I can see in the mirror. Oh, yep, I can see him start to fold up in the mirror. And make sure I line up correctly on the elevators so that they'll actually be able to lower it without damaging the craft. And when I do this, I'm doing this all within the cockpit. So I'm just transitioning to the track replay to see the outside bit. I know that when I can look down that walkway there that I'm lined up well. Cockpit, get some nice sea air. Alright, came back, still got my fuel tank, which is good. See the taxpayers some money. I still have one AIM-9X, which we'll use at a later date. Alright, hope you all enjoyed it. We'll start working on the next one soon.